From Brandon High School in Mississippi, then walking on at Troy University, but before even playing a snap for them, this guy transferred to Northwest Mississippi Community College, then transferred to East Carolina University, and then Washington State. Finally made his way to Duval County. Of course, I'm talking about Gardner Minshew, the man in shorts and the face of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Today, I will reveal the Gardner Minshew story. The legend began in Flowood, Mississippi on May 16, 1996, a small city in Mississippi. His parents, Gardner Flint Minshew I and Kim Minshew, were both athletes. Flint was a defensive tackle for Millsaps College. His mother was a basketball player at Mississippi State. Gardner grew up in Brandon, Mississippi, where he would play high school football. Minshew did not play much during his freshman year, but he was called up from junior varsity after an injury to the starter, and Minshew never lost the job. He became the full-time starter in his sophomore year, where he would throw for 3,001 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 12 picks, while also tacking on 6 rushing touchdowns. His junior year was more of the same, but his senior year was where he really took off, throwing for 3,541 yards, 31 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. He tore the opposing school's defenses apart all season, leading Brandon High School to a 12-2 record. Even after his amazing senior year, Gardner still received no big offers. He then graduated from high school early and committed to Troy University on an academic scholarship, where just a semester into his freshman year, transferred to Northwest Mississippi Community College and immediately became the starting quarterback. His first season as a starter, he led the team to a junior college championship and threw for 3,228 yards, 28 touchdowns, 5 interceptions with a 60% completion percentage. After his freshman year at the school, he transferred to East Carolina University. Gardner had no shot at playing this year, as there were 2 senior quarterbacks ahead of him. However, one of the quarterbacks switched to running back, and in the 4th game, the other was knocked out with a concussion. Minshew ended up playing in the second half of that game, and after the game, heading into the next game, to try to keep 3 years of eligibility, Gardner had the brilliant idea of breaking his own hand. He's quoted by the Part of My Take podcast in saying, "The only thing I could do was to get a medical red shirt. But if I played in the next game, that would be off the table. So I get an idea. I go home, I grabbed a bottle of Jack Daniels and a hammer. I go back in my room, I take a pull of Jack Daniels and put my hand down on the table and boom, 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 1, 2, 3, and hit the hell out of my hand." So as you could tell, it obviously did not work. He played a total of 7 games, all with his swollen throwing hand, in which he made up a great lie saying he shut a car door on it by accident. In those 7 games, he threw for 1,347 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks, and had a 124 passer rating. The next season, both senior quarterbacks obviously graduated, and Minshew was slated to be the new starter. But he ended up splitting time with Duke transfer Thomas Sirk, and still managed to play well, having 2,140 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, with a passer rating of 129.1. Gardner then graduated college, but still had a year of eligibility. He then sent a message to a lot of schools who needed a quarterback, and Alabama came calling. Nick Saban had the idea that Minshew should come on and be the backup to Tua Tagovailoa for a season, and potentially begin a career as a coach of some sort. Committed to Alabama, but then Washington State University came calling, and Coach Mike Leach just had these words to say.
So we called him up and said, hey, you want to hold a clipboard at Alabama or you want to lead the nation in passing? And he came to Washington State.
And Leach did not lie. Gardner came second in the nation in passing yards with 4,779, 38 touchdowns, 9 picks, 147.6 pass rating, and a 70.7% completion percentage, and had an 11-2 record with the team. Minshew also won the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, was the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year, finished 5th in the Heisman voting. After the season, Minshew then declared for the NFL Draft, and some scouts could see him going as high as the 3rd round, but most likely being a day 3 pick. And the scouts were right, about his draft stock, of course. On April 27th, 2019, the 3rd day of the NFL Draft, Gardner Flint Minshew II was selected with the 178th pick in the 6th round by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Duval County was coming off a season in which the team went 5-11 with Blake the Boat Bortles at quarterback. Blake was released after the season, and the team brought on veteran Nick Foles, former Super Bowl MVP, on a 4-year, $88 million deal. Gardner was slated to be the backup going to Week 1, and that's exactly how it played out. Well, until Nick Foles broke his left clavicle and was deemed out indefinitely. So Gardner took his spot for the rest of the game and threw 25 times, completing 22 of the passes, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Gardner would be the starter until Foles came back in Week 11, a game after Gardner had a 0 touchdown, 2 interception, 26-3 loss to the Houston Texans. Up to that point, though, he played great, having multiple touchdowns in 5 to 9 games, but he had to accept the fact that Nick Foles would be the starter. That's why he was brought in at $22 million a year. However, after 3 starts and 2 mediocre games, Doug Marrone is sick of Nick Foles, put Uncle Rico Jr. back into the starting job. In 12 starts and 14 total games, Minshew went 6-6 and finished the year with 3,271 yards, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, a completion percentage of 60.6, and showed that he's a mobile quarterback. Although not fast, he can do things inside and outside of the pocket. The team would go into the offseason and trade Nick Foles to the Bears for a compensatory 4th-round pick. Again, like I said in my last video, the Bears chose Nick Foles over Cam Newton. Besides the point, Minshew obviously earned his job for the Jaguars, leading to that move. He was ready to be the full-time starter heading to 2020 for a bad team, but nonetheless, a starting job. However, during the offseason, the Jaguars made some questionable moves. The first trade was trading cornerback AJ Bouye to the Broncos for a 4th-round pick, but their first real what-are-you-doing move was trading 5-time Pro Bowler and 1-time first-team All-Pro defensive end Calais Campbell to the Ravens for a 5th-round pick, which was the first sign of people wondering what Jacksonville is doing. As it says in the thumbnail, this was when people began to think the Jaguars were going to tank for Trevor, like how the Miami Dolphins were allegedly tanking for Tua. Later in the offseason, after franchise tagging him, the team traded the unhappy defensive end Yannick Ngakoue to the Minnesota Vikings for a 2nd-round pick in 2021 and conditional 5th-round pick in 2022. Then, the next day, after not being able to find a trade partner, the team released running back Leonard Fournette. It was blatantly obvious to most that Jacksonville was going to tank, but Gardner never let that get to him. So far this season, he's proven to the Jaguars coaches and front office why Trevor Lawrence is not the answer. Rather, the guy with the mustache is. Through the first 3 games, and they just played their 3rd game as I'm recording this, Minshew has impressed so far, besides the lackluster Week 3 performance, having 787 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks, on a 73.8 completion percentage, going 1-2. The Jags had a real chance of starting 2-0, but this unlucky interception, which I can't show the video due to copyright, sealed the deal for the Titans at a close 33-30 loss for Jacksonville. The game against the Dolphins was just a poor performance for basically everyone on Jacksonville, and for Gardner Minshew's sake, DJ Chark was also out. Seems like Gardner Flint Minshew II is not willing to give up his job as the starter for Jacksonville anytime soon, and he's proving that he's the team's future at quarterback. Personally, I think Gardner could be a starter for the Jags for a long time, as he had them at a 500 record last year when he started with the poorest team, and this year, although only through 3 games, almost went 2-0 with an absolutely horrible team around him. But with a couple young surprises like undrafted rookie free agent running back James Robinson, who posted 100 yards for the first time in his career in Week 2 and had 2 touchdowns tonight, there seem to be some pieces around Gardner Minshew that can help him in the future. I hope that the Jaguars do good enough to where David Caldwell and Doug Marrone have no shot at taking Lawrence, because I feel like if they do end up with the first pick, there's no chance Trevor Lawrence is not selected, and the end of Minshew Mania in Duval County will occur. Good luck, Gardner, the rest of the way. You've been doubted your whole career, and I hope you succeed as the Jaguars quarterback for the everlasting future. With all that being said, that is it from me, guys. Thank you for tuning in for Fanatic Sports and getting me to 100 subscribers. Hope you all liked the video, and if you did, please subscribe and hit the like button. It only takes 2 seconds. Also, follow me on Instagram, @FanaticSports25, and on Twitter, @FanaticSports. Now, before I head out, how do you think Mitchell will do for the Jaguars this season and the rest of his career with Jacksonville?